So let's talk a little bit about debouncing our sensors as they go into the processor. Whenever we hook up a discrete input device to our processor, we should always add a debounce function, which is a small time delay before activation. We would do that with limit switches, photo eyes, etc., etc. In this example, we have a photo eye here, and that photo eye is shooting an infrared beam to this reflector and bouncing back, and it is determined if it is blocked or unblocked. Well, what can happen is when this is running, there's a lot of vibration in the conveyor and it jumps up and down, and we can get a just a very slight flicker in this signal, or if this is just about out of reach, and that flicker can cause things to happen that we don't really want to happen. So we know, typically speaking, if a box is traveling across here, that if we give it a quarter second to a half second delay, we're pretty sure there is actually something physically blocking that eye. Another thing is maybe an operator or something is walking by and they drop a piece of paper, or maybe they're moving stuff around, or there's all kinds of things that can happen to cause an errant activation of an input. So we really need to add debounce. You should never add a switch to a processor without adding a debounce function to it. Most of the time, what I'm going to show you is I program a debounce on and off function. It never hurts to do the off. If you don't need it, you turn the timer down to 0. So let's look at the debounce on function here. We have rung 0. We have not sensor A activated, and we have a half second delay. Now what we do here is this done bit here is used in our program to control the rest of the logic. So we don't actually use the sensor input in our program, we use the time delay. Okay, so let's look at sensor A. Turn on the entry conveyor. We'll see that it activates and it takes about a half second, and then that goes on and it stops. So if we grab our box here and we'll drag it all the way over here, maybe we'll hit refresh, and we'll say something happened, and maybe somebody threw a box up, or they accidentally flagged the eye. We don't want that to happen, so we can account for that switch bounce. So let's try that, and we'll try this again. I'm gonna try to put this on here, see if we can block that eye. We'll turn our debounce up a little bit. 2 seconds. And we'll see that that errant flicker in the sensor doesn't actually activate. See if we can get that to activate. And so we get an errant activation. It requires it to be blocked for a certain length of time before we'll actually turn on the next conveyor. So now we've turned it on, and if we straighten the box up, hopefully it will move on. There you go. So you need to add that debounce on function. A lot of times programmers will add a debounce on and off function. This assumes that basically what this does is if product is entering a photo eye, we make sure that there really is product entering the photo eye. With the debounce off function, you can make sure that the product is so many inches past the photo eye before you let the next product come in there. That maintains a nice even space between your product, and it really helps with zone control and causing backups and jams.